Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Here at Modena, we are really pleased that you could join us, so we will be introducing BIM 360 Coordinate. My name is Brooke LaRue and I am the Key Accounts Manager for Modena AEC, and I will be co-hosting the session today. Now I would like to introduce today's presenter, Dario Mariuzzi. Dario is an application engineer within the architecture industry. During this week, we have hosted a total of 5 webinars where we have introduced the various BIM 360 platforms. If you would like to watch a replay of these webinars, this will be available on our website. A link will be added to the chat box now. This webinar will be recorded and it will be sent to you in the next day or so to recap on what we have covered here today. And if you would like to share it with any of your colleagues who weren't able to attend, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions during this webinar, please post your questions in the Q&A section, and one of our technical assistants will be able to answer it for you once the webinar is completed. We would love to hear your feedback at the end of this session. A short survey will automatically pop up where you will be able to provide us with some valuable feedback. We will also be running a total of 4 polls during this webinar, and we would really appreciate your participation with these. So for our first poll, we would like to know who is joining us today. We'll give you guys a few seconds if you could please just answer this first. All right, we are going to be sharing the results now. So we have quite a nice mix of people joined us here today. So let's jump into the why of BIM 360. BIM 360 is built on the only unified common data platform in the industry. BIM 360 changes the ways teams stay connected, both in the office and in the field, by allowing easy team communication and collaboration. With your security as a priority, BIM 360 is designed and built using best-in-class cloud software practices and powered by Amazon Web Services, the world's leader in cloud infrastructure. That being said, BIM 360 is designed to be extensible with open secure APIs to easily connect other construction software tools your company uses. BIM 360 is a streamlined, integrated solution reviewing support of over 50 design file formats. At the end of the day, BIM 360 is data-driven. With the Project Insights tool, BIM 360 supports predictability and uncertainty of decision-making. This eliminates the root causes of uncertainty. Imagine the impact on project delivery success and your business profitability if there were less complexity, disconnection, and uncertainty. Over to you, Dario.
Thanks very much, Brooke. So as you can see on screen, by the way, it's Dario speaking. How's it, everyone? Glad you could join us. As you can see on screen, it's a good representation of the BIM 360 ecosystem. Everything that basically works off and is pinned on Autodesk Forge. Now that's a proprietary programming and coding language that all of the platforms have basically been redesigned from the bottom up to basically allow the integration between the different BIM 360 products. On top of that base, that foundation, sits your data, okay? All of your project data, your communications, all of that is basically going to be set in that central repository with which everything is going to be able to access it from. So data silos are basically, as much as they can be, a thing of the past, and all of your BIM 360 platforms will basically work off of BIM 360 docs. So as you can see, you've got your design and your pre-construction, which is what we're going to be discussing today. That is going to be pulling the required information from the same data. Also, obviously connected to that is your ops and your field execution software, BIM 360 Field and BIM 360 Ops. Another graphic basically showing where it sits in the ecosystem. So as you can see, in terms of administration, BIM 360 Docs is the basis. Everything else ties into that, and we basically have all of our project access, your member access, your member administration, and your project administration, as well as account admin, handled through BIM 360 Docs. BIM 360 Coordinate will basically handle your verification of your authored models, which would have been done by BIM 360 Design. So it'll basically interrogate those models vis-a-vis clash detection and basically work off of the same data. That then feeds back to BIM 360 Docs to get you your insights, okay, and your project home. So it'll basically be able to put you in a position where it can feed you project-specific insights. And then as you move further down the road with respects to BIM 360 and your use, over the years, all of your projects are going to feed to a business level insight, which is always valuable. So that, as opposed to what currently happens, is your project data, once the project is finished, it literally sits on the server just in case you need it at some point in the future. Why not make that data work for you? Give you insights to allow you to make decisions later on in a few years' time to determine whether a project is feasible for you as a company or not. That's a big thing that BIM 360 as a whole it offers you. Okay, we have our next poll. And what we'd like to find out from you is how you guys are currently doing your service coordination. Over to you, Brooke. A lot of us typically would be doing things manually. That's a common practice still. So basically just how you guys are handling it now. If you've tried something new, be very interesting to see what comes up in terms of results. We'll give it a few more minutes, a few more seconds rather, for voting. How are we looking, Brooke? Oh, okay, there we go. Well, yeah, overwhelmingly 53%. That's a majority, political majority at least. So some of us are doing things digitally using your digital markups, or even scanning those physical images and sending them out. All right, very interesting to see. Okay. This is basically an indication, an overall high-level indication of the product flowchart life cycle for BIM 360. So trade coordination, you can see, sits somewhere here. All right, your design authoring using collaboration sits here and basically feeds in. And then in terms of your 3D model, so for service coordination, clash detection, we obviously need to deal with the 3D model, 2D models, 2D drawings basically fall by the wayside. In terms of your 3D model, you can see up at the top right there, all of your platforms are basically going to feed into your capabilities to basically service the project to the best of your ability. And again, as you can see, BIM 360 Coordinate will basically service you in this area here, as well as your trade coordination, your clash detection, that sort of thing. All right. All right, third of 4 polls. If I was to say Navisworks or BIM 360 Glue to you, your reply to me would be what? Okay, so we'll leave that one for a couple more seconds. Fairly easy one. Very interested to see the results. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, you guys are actually in the right place then. 43% of our audience have basically never heard of them. Some of us have tried them. 23% have basically tried them out. We've got 14% avid users and 20% hardcore Navisworks or BIM 360 Glue users. All right. BIM 360 Coordinate is the new kid on the block, the next in generation for BIM 360 Glue.
Today's design and construction projects require disparate teams to collaborate closely so they can complete projects on time and on budget. But with distinct teams come data silos and disconnected communication. Autodesk BIM 360 removes these barriers with a single platform that connects design and construction processes and project teams in one place. BIM 360 Coordinate speeds the coordination process between contractors, designers, fabricators, and trades so they can identify and resolve problems between participants before construction begins, saving time and money. With BIM 360 Coordinate, teams can merge models in the cloud to accelerate constructability reviews on and off the job site. navigate aggregated models, and toggle visibility to hide and reveal model components. Get clash results immediately when new model versions are published and drill down to clash details. Create issues from relevant clashes or tag clashes as not issues and assign reviewer to improve visibility into what issues need attention quickly. Create multiple coordination spaces to encourage design and trade partners to experiment with options and develop their work-in-progress models while clash checking them against models shared by other teams. With the support of more than 60 file types, including IFC files and offline model viewing, team members have access in the field to needed information on their mobile device. Coordination is put into the hands of the entire project team, democratizing specialized tasks and letting multidisciplined teams take responsibility for the quality and accuracy of their content in real time. BIM 360 Coordinate is part of Autodesk BIM 360, the only cloud platform that connects design and construction teams, processes, and data to inform decision-making, improve outcomes, and accelerate project delivery. Experience the power of a connected project. Try BIM 360 today.
Okay, so I thought I'd put this in. Not many people actually are aware of some of the numbers that are out there. And some of it's actually kind of scary. So with respect to service coordination, why it's so important, a little bit of Googling and you'll see that fewer than 1 in 3 believe, 1 in 3 contractors actually, that's 30%, believe that they finish projects on time and within budget, okay? In the US, they have the ability to do this kind of statistics. Over $15 billion a year is spent on rework. Okay? That's a big chunk of money. Okay, costs that would basically contribute to that, things like labor, one that a lot of people, myself included, often forget, the plant required. You need cranes, you got to move them, that sort of stuff. Materials that are basically ripped out and the materials that need to be replaced. Those also obviously cost money, as well as time spent going through these clashes. That's obviously time lost. Time lost that you could be doing other things with, all right? The big thing is that issues need to end up being sorted out. They need to address before you get to site, okay? And in South Africa, as it stands for most projects, during construction, which means they need to be handled very, very quickly. What I want to draw to your attention, a couple of years ago, I heard this number and it literally scared me. With proper service coordination, it is said that up to 80% of that 15 billion can be recovered. That's big bucks, wherever you are, all right? As such, service coordination needs to be very efficient, which means you need to be able to identify issues quickly, okay? Decide what is critical and what is not, and if necessary for processing, from a processing standpoint, actually get those things grouped so that you can kill 2 or 9 birds as you would have it with one stone. We'd also like to be able to minimize admin and basically get the accountability for the clashes back to the responsible persons. Okay, so let's talk clash detection. Okay. It's typically done at a sort of service coordination phase where you'll go through weeks and weeks of service coordination meeting, which overlaps with your design development and oftentimes even into tender, maybe even construction. It's hierarchical. That's the next thing. So one person basically handles the service coordination or oversees it, and then it gets drawn down, as well as along the lines of structural elements typically are reinforced and engineered, and it's a lot more difficult to get those moved than, say, a duct or a fire sprinkler. Typically, service coordination meetings are done weekly or bi-weekly. That's standard in the country for the most part. Turnaround time then, 2 weeks. I get told today that I have an issue. I handle the issue, and then to figure out whether it was resolved satisfactorily or not, so that happens in a week or 2 weeks' time. So that's quite a long time, okay? And what about the paper trail? Big important thing if you know, it's needed. It's typically physical red line drawings that sit either on site office, or with the service coordinator, which basically accounts for huge bottlenecking potential at that one person. All right. With BIM 360 Coordinate, you can literally start almost immediately. All I need is 2 models up and I can start clash detecting, okay? It's democratized, okay, which basically allows everybody to chip in and help out. Many hands making light work basically gets this done, and it gets it done quicker. Oh, sorry. The ability to do it on a daily basis is big, okay? Instead of waiting for that 2-week turnaround or that weekly or bi-weekly service coordination meeting and then have to spend the next day or two just getting through all that data, you can basically start looking at doing it maybe for an hour a day. It lessens the load on you as a user, the entire team. The turnaround time, instead of being 2 weeks, ends up being hours with a couple of cups of coffee. So defining an issue, assigning it, and having that sync back is, as I said, a lot quicker. 2 weeks versus hours in terms of time, that's heavy. Notifications compared to the traditional method, emails, next meeting, verbal, that sort of thing. I've now got a built-in per issue notification system, all right? Comments, who it's assigned to, due dates, all of that sort of thing built in to the BIM 360 interface. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on. Activity logs, who did what and when, that cannot be tampered with. So from a security and an accountability standpoint, that's huge, okay? And it also allows us to simplify and distribute service coordination and the management thereof between, you know, a greater footprint in terms of professional team. Okay, in terms of clash detection, as far as it goes, traditionally, you end up with a bottleneck at the service coordinator before it comes back. So typically your service coordinator will then talk with the professional teams, your subbies, your trades. I think in South Africa, it's more typically done at a professional level, professional teams, and then your trades will basically sort of handle that on site. With BIM 360, you're actually able to get the trades, your subcontractors and that sort of stuff involved as well if they are providing models. So if you have a look at how it's done in BIM 360 in terms of the organogram, it looks more like a wagon wheel. So everybody speaks to everybody else. So there's a lot more networking that happens by the nature of how things are set up. So it encourages you to basically communicate more with more people, and believe it or not, that goes a long way to getting things done. All right, so we're going to take a couple of videos here in. With respect to general navigation, as you can see here, what I'm doing in Revit, just to show you guys, I'm making a change. So fixing a clash. Can you imagine maybe a duct or something goes through there? I've chosen to do an opening because it's a lot easier to see. You're able to basically look at a clash, eventually make the change, and then synchronize it back. In terms of how BIM 360 coordinate is used, you can basically use it in various numbers of ways. I can actually, in this case, I've chosen to clash the work in progress models. So as I said, from day one, I'm able to clash those. You're also able to clash models that are put up for review. So if a model is approved for public use, you can actually go ahead and clash those, okay? And the process that you follow is slightly different, but not all that much. So it puts you in a position to be able to do this quite easily. So I'm doing the little bits and pieces in Revit that I need to do right here, and waiting for that to be pushed up to the cloud. Again, this is cloud-based. It is centrally located data, which basically means once it's up there, anybody can access it. Anybody who's been given permission to access it. So from a security standpoint, prying eyes are a thing of the past. Permissions need to be set up. Over here, you can see I'm in BIM 360 documents, okay? You saw there that the architecture model's basically just running through its updates. It's pushing the data through, refreshing it for me, and gonna put me in a position where I can now eventually access that data and basically start looking at the progress of my clashes. Okay, into the coordination. Because I have pushed up these models, these are models. So I'm at a point where I can basically use these models to prepare mechanisms for me to view my crashes. I do have a couple, so I'm going to go to the whole project, I think. That's what I did. And shoot through and have a look at this model. Now, while I'm talking, have a look at the screen. What I want you to try and focus on is how fluid things end up being, okay? Because this is going to speak to things a little bit more down the road. So you can see all of my models on the left there. If I need to, I can go and remove a couple. Maybe I added 1 or 2 extra. Easy enough to get through. Again, I'm not deleting them. I'm just basically not using them for the purposes of crash detection. Notice how smooth the interface is. It's a 3D model that I'm navigating through a web browser, mind you. So no special software. I mean, if you were looking at a model like that in Revit to that level, you'd need a pretty decent machine. I can have any machine that has internet access, basically take a look at that 3D model. Federated 3D model. That's every service. I'm able to basically look at getting things that I don't need in terms of my view out of the way. So you can see I've drilled down to basically just the models. From a model standpoint, I've chosen to hide the garage, the parking garage there that you see. It ghosts it, which is quite nice because I get to still view it in context, all right? In terms of service coordination, all of our trees and our entourage, that might not be something we need to take a look at. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch them off. I'm able to basically switch off at a model level. I'm able to hide things at a category level as far as Revit's concerned, and I'm able to hide things at an element level should I choose to do so as well, which is quite nice. So there goes all of my entourage helicopters I don't need for service coordination at this point. All right, notice how smooth the orbiting is. I'm able to orbit, able to take top-down views, exactly what I was able to do in Revit, in AutoCAD, pretty much working the same way. You can see there all of my ducting in my ceiling spaces are there. I'm able to grab elements and do what I need to with them. Very, very fluid, very, very responsive. Now, the reason I've asked you to take note of that is our mobile devices are going to be brought into play a little bit later on. All right, highlighting a model allows you to look at it. So you'll see the model as you pan in and out in context. So you'll see the structural model, you take a look. There's the structural, and immediately it refreshes with everything else around it and basically puts me in a position where I can quite rapidly, quite easily view things in context. Okay. In terms of navigation as well, a whole building gets kind of difficult. So common practice here, we might decide to go level by level. And what's nice is as I hover over my levels, okay, you'll see that it actually gives me an indication of roughly where I am. So before I make the selection, which as you can see, will basically drill down to that level, you can actually view your project level by level should you need to. And then of course, navigate in and do what you need to do. Okay, so it highlights that. If I move off that little toggle there, see eventually it'll disappear to show you just that. So again, I've got my context and then it basically removes it from sight. Individual element selection is of course paramount. I need to be able to figure out what things are, which we'll demonstrate in a couple of seconds. But again, very, very fluid, okay? You can see with respect to the model as well, I might need to take some, have a look at data or interrogate the model a little bit. So let's take a measurement real quick. Click, click, and the job's done. Or in my case, if you can't find the endpoint, I'm able to see things there like, whoops, okay, settings, switch that from meters to millimeters, and I'm on my way very, very quickly. So I'm able to tweak and adjust. So working with teams in other countries, maybe you're working in imperial units of measurement and you need the metric. Obviously, they're drawing an imperial, you just convert to metric and you're getting those metric measurements. So no calculators and slide rules. In terms of how things look as well, I just want to draw to your attention that BIM 360 allows you to change how things are looking, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes. But we need to worry about our plan, our building vertically as well. It's great that I can do it floor plan to floor plan. In terms of sectioning, I can set up a single or a combination of more than one section to basically start boxing portions of my building off. And as you can see here, it's as easy as just dragging the section gizmo and zooming in, out, tilting, panning. So position, and you can see there are two axes that you can basically take that and rotate. Just like you could if you were using Navisworks, it's all pretty much exactly the same. Very, very responsive. You can see the refresh in terms of the data is quite quick. And let's take an opposite section. Would be great to see what my atrium's doing. So let's take a look in there. I've got some equipment over there. I've got some cores and lift shafts that I've got to worry about. So moving in, let's go and have a look at a specific wall. Now, the reason I've done this is you'll see the wall down here now, where my cursor was right there. So I'm looking over here, basically. You can see that that opening hasn't adjusted yet. The model is still busy uploading. So we'll give it a couple more seconds, but that gives us a little bit of time to discuss a few more things. So off we go with the sections. And we're basically going to start looking at certain things. Now, remember I asked you to note how fluid it was. In terms of a presentation, I mean, this is pretty slick. Okay, if I needed to show this model, it's quite polished. Okay. I've got in the act of navigating, I've got things like ambient shadows on. Now, as you know, from a Revit standpoint, playing with shadows is quite a dangerous thing in terms of system resources. I've had them on all the time, so I can switch them off and on. You'll notice the top of that slab is now not showing ambient shadows. And you'll notice over here that the shadows of the solar panels were actually showing. So I can toggle those on or off, and that's obviously going to make things a little bit smoother. And believe it or not, there was a setting that actually sped up navigation, which I actually forgot off there. I forgot it. You can see there, provides faster navigation there, smooth navigation. I actually had it off. Despite that fact, it's actually quite smooth. All right. In terms of the models, with respects to how things are hidden, I can also choose to actually hide things or hide them in context. So again, that's basically where I've headed now. I've left the hiding context on. So you can see I've chosen just to show my sprinkler systems, which you can see has a foreground sort of appeal, and everything else is almost X-ray mode, okay? If I toggle that off, it actually hides them completely, and I'm able to look at my sprinkler systems standalone, not in context. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and reverse that, except the garage, of course. Don't need that at the moment. And then just gonna move things. So this is all movable, multiple monitors. It's gonna be gangbusters with this. In terms of appearance and environments, you can start seeing that with respects to changing them out. If I'm looking for a different graphic quality, I'm able to use any one of the presets on the fly, and it changes them as and when you need. So I think one of those was the Tranquility one that I chose to use. Well, which one was that? I can't really see. Oh, Riverbank. All right, so I'm able to basically change the appearance as and when I need it. And again, look how responsive, okay? It's not that I've got to wait another 2, 3, or 4 minutes for your authoring software like Revit to basically repopulate, and especially towards the end of the day when the computer's taken a big knock. So able to pretty much have all of this versatility at my fingertips, okay? Let's start looking at things like elements. So you can see there that that opening may not have changed yet, but let's take a look at the elements. So I just grabbed the wall. Notice the heading. It gives you a nice little digit behind it. That, guys, is your Revit Elements ID. which means what? If I needed to change that wall or modify that wall in terms of a clash, I don't go and grab the wall next to it. Using the element ID gets me that wall. So changing the wrong thing is a thing of the past. Fantastic thing for somebody like me who can't really remember all that much. Okay, so I'm just going to close this down real quick and show you how the refreshing of this will work in terms of your clashes. So remember that opening we saw right at the beginning. We're going to go and check to see whether our model is refreshed. Okay, looks like it's there. There's no circle of death going on, so things are good. Let them push up quickly. And I'm going to head back to my whole building. So that whole building is basically a federated model. Everything. The model from the architect, the model from the structural engineer. In terms of clashes, looking at the thing as a whole is going to get us to a point where, just to let you know, there's the opening, looking nice and substantially bigger than what it originally was. So as I was saying, in terms of clashes, it's going to put us in a position where you potentially have to have a look at the entire building's clashes. And that can be problematic. 15,000 clashes straight off the bat will turn anyone screaming for the hills. So we'll take a look at setting up views for clashing. Now, one of the things I really appreciate about this is, even though I decide to clash, say, the structural model versus the plumbing model, which I've done here, I think. So this was structural, this was the structural versus HVAC model. I've chosen to do two models. You'll notice it's a lot quicker. It's a lot less data that you need to worry about, which is fantastic. And again, I've got the same functionality as you saw with the entire building, the same speed. Simple as picking the model you want, and basically doing what you need to do in order to get it sorted out. So in terms of setting these things up, it's literally seconds to set up the views that you are going to use to clash. Okay. And if, like me, you do type slowly, that might impede you slightly, but that's not the computer's fault, that's my fault. All right, so with respect to that, you can see that the view is saved. I have the opportunity to update that if I need to rename it for whatever reason. And again, this view has been set up for HVAC and for structure, so the HVAC engineer and the structural engineer can use it. You'll notice that floor, I've clicked in clashes, is showing that there are clashes. You'll notice the floor below it down here is actually gray because I've already done to this floor what I'm about to do to this, which is to basically mark it as not being essential. We may not be modeling penetrations for our ducts and the like. So basically put a note in there, capture my data so that I can basically get things done. And I can mark these as not being a clash. So I have the opportunity or the ability to decide what is important and what isn't. So you can see there with respects to the interface, first of all, that floor is now grayed out. So obviously not something we're going to be focusing on, and allows me to systematically go through the model. Moving on to the next floor, I can actually go and see what the situation is there. All right. And that'll allow you to basically, simple as that. So basically whittle down a lot of clashes quite quickly. Okay. So the ability to track a clash. So you're going to go through this process and get your model down to the 6,000 or 7,000 clashes that you need to worry about. And now we need to start worrying about those. So how we go about it is this way. We're going to go to our clashes again, and we're going to take a look at a clash. So that wall will basically give me a few clashes. Now this wall I have actually worked on. So I've done some of the clashes. I haven't sorted them all out yet, but you can see that it will tell you that if that element is still clashing with elements, it'll still give it to you as a clash, and not necessarily elements in the model you've chosen to do clashes on. So it's not just going to work with the models that you've set up. In the case of the previous one, it would have been HVAC versus structural. If a duct is going through a wall in the architectural model, I do need to know about it. So it will basically group all of the clashes, and if necessary, load the models in that aren't loaded in that you need to see. So once we've decided on a clash being important, we basically will make an issue of it, and that issue then starts becoming traceable. So your clashes are always going to sit in the model unless you basically state that they aren't clashes. So you'll go through and you'll interrogate that, or you will basically make them an issue, in which case now we need to start doing certain things to that in order to move it down the process, which is to basically, first of all, create the issue. We need to assign responsibility to that. We need to basically maybe give a little bit of a description, and basically what you're looking at on screen is the going through the motions of that. So you can see that it's quite quick in terms of setting that up. It's just capturing a little bit of data to help everybody else in the team. And again, if you've been given permission, you know, securities have been set up, everybody has the ability to take a look at these issues. So if, for example, you're on leave, a teammate is at the office, they can take a look at stuff that's been assigned through to you and basically take a look at that as well. So it's basically cross-pollinatable to a big extent. And that issue is basically now done. Okay. You can see there, there were clashes that were grouped. So if you have used the likes of Navisworks in the past, you'd have to run these clash tests and figure out what a clash is. The computer, to a big degree, helps you out with that. BIM 360 Coordinate automatically detects the clashes. These are hard clashes. So a duct going through a wall, okay? Making it into an issue basically spotlights it, okay? And captures data that will facilitate in somebody actually fixing it. All right, so you can see the process of capturing that data. And that's basically done. All right. So complex functionality that's available almost at your fingertips and almost instantly, which is fantastic to see. Okay. Moving into Navisworks. Navisworks is the mainstay, the big brother in the Autodesk stable of products, and it would be remiss on Autodesk's part to basically just do away with it. For the folks of us that do use Navisworks, it needs to be brought in, it needs to be integrated. You need to be able to do what you've done with Navisworks with respect to BIM 360 as well. And a big thing for Navisworks would be to get those clash issues in here, all right? Now, at this point, I want to stress that this is currently in preview for Navisworks 2021, which basically means it's going live is imminent. But this is basically a sort of look and feel for what you'd be able to expect coming through. The older product, BIM 360 Glue, Coordinate being the new generation, is basically what we're looking at here. Through BIM 360 Glue, I'm actually able to log into BIM 360 Docs, as you can see there. We're in the BIM 360 Docs interface. I'm able to do exactly what I've been doing with the other models. The differences here is setting up of the issues I'm able to eventually take into Navisworks. So I'm just going to fast forward here a little bit. You can see the issues there, so we've been through that. In Navisworks here, I'm able to get at the BIM 360 data. And bring those clashes or those issues in. So as you can see, there's a blue issue over here that they've basically just switched off. As you can see, there it is. That issue in Navisworks, I'm actually able to manipulate, or well, will be able to manipulate and send back. So I'll be able to use Navisworks as a service coordinator to still go through the process and interact with BIM 360 Coordinate. You'll be able to access the models through BIM 360 Coordinate. So any issues that I choose to modify or change or approve or reject, I'll be able to push that back up into the cloud for the folks to see it. So tantamount to the old Navisworks switchback. But again, I'm dealing with a cloud-based model. So all of that accessibility is available to me. All right. So you can see there, the guy's just modified the issue. He's updated it and back into BIM 360 Docs. And you'll be able to see the issue right then and there. The modified issue. As you can see, it is there. All right. So again, I mentioned that this is in preview state. That's just a snapshot of the What's New in Navisworks 2021 help page. And as you can see, first one on the list. So it's kind of important. It's on its way. It's in preview mode. So full integration with respects to BIM 360 Coordinate. Okay. The ability to go mobile is of paramount importance to teams. Okay, gone are the days of running around with rolls of paper all over the show. Your cell phone, your tablet is basically going to be the new tool on site. Okay, which means I need to get access to this data. Now, what data am I going to be able to have access at? Well, on site in terms of clashes, you can see where my cursor is over here. There's a project field issue over there, and you can start seeing metrics, data, numbers that I have to worry about. In terms of our clashes, that sort of insight you're going to be able to draw from your BIM 360 docs model. This is project-specific insight, so you can see I've got things like name, weather, location, which I don't think is ever going to change, but things like checklists, field issues, so all of that data, that big data that we're talking about, you're going to be feeding that sort of animal with respects to BIM 360 coordinates and your Revit models, okay? It allows you collaboration anywhere and everywhere, okay? And again, as I said, secure, so people that need to see the data are going to be able to see the data. People that don't need to ask, and ask nicely. All right, so with respects to polls, the last one of the day, and it's simply, did you find value in the time spent here today? So over to you, Brooke. Look, guys, Sudoku is quite a cool thing to play, but hopefully this takes precedence. But if not, then if you'd rather play Sudoku, please let us know. Again, a couple more seconds. Hopefully it wasn't all that technical, because from a user standpoint, I can vouch for the fact that it's very, very easy. You know, once you get into the swing of things, it becomes second nature. So very, very handy to have. Okay, a couple more seconds. And, oh, you guys just made me smile. Thanks very much, folks. I really do appreciate that. I'm sure Brooke does too. Those of us that need to see how this works, feel free. I'm going to stop clapping hands now, but feel free to give us a shout. We're always happy to help you. All right. So with respects to that, sorry, hang on a sec, computer is not being friendly. I just want to draw to your attention that even though today was the last webinar in this series, please hit up our site to have a look at upcoming events. There usually is something of interest for a lot of people there. Hit up that URL that you're seeing over there. It'll allow you to register for upcoming ones, but any webinars that we have hosted in the past are available for replay and rewatch. I missed a couple at the beginning of the week, so guess what I'm doing this weekend? Yeah, so just hit that site up. Also, because of the fact that a lot of us have a bit more time on our hands, wink, wink, we might want to sharpen our BIM or Revit pencils. So If you fall into that category, we do have a learning portal, and its URL is there, its web link is there. So just go to the Modena AEC website and you'll be able to get to that. What this offers you that no one else does is it offers you solutions to South African specific issues. Okay, so if you'd like to know more, feel free to hit that up. It is a fantastic little resource. Okay. With respects to BIM 360, we do understand that it can be daunting, but if you have a problem, you know we can help. You know where to find us. It's always good to have an A team at your back, so let us help you. Get on board straight away. All right, and when I say straight away, I'm talking today. On our website, hit that up, enter in a little bit of details, and we'll help you get this BIM 360 hub set up for you so that you can actually try these things out. Okay, and with that, I'm going to open it up to any Q&A. If there are any questions. Brooke, are you seeing any questions? Because I can't see anything here.
Okay, cool. So Dario, Doug has asked, can one import Navisworks reports into Coordinate platform?
Absolutely. Specifying them, you actually are able to open them. There are workflows that we have in place that will allow you to access them through the cloud and then basically run through the cloud and have the rest of the team access them through there. So it goes a long way to that, basically taking the data silo that was Navisworks. Okay, a lot of people basically say, I've got to remember to export my Navisworks model. It allows you to put that in the cloud. So if people do want to access the Navisworks model as an alternative, they are able to do that. And then obviously with the integration, I set the clash up in Navisworks, it comes back through to Revit. So absolutely, you are able to do that. Any other questions?
We have another question from Yvonne now. He says, what different versions of glue are, if there are more than one?
Okay. How it works is this. BIM 360 glue is basically the older generation of what is now BIM 360 Coordinate. So glue may have had various version updates which introduce new functionality. That new functionality has obviously been ported through to BIM 360 Coordinate. There may have been some things that were tweaked and adjusted, some things that were left behind, but basically in terms of generations, you've got, you had Navisworks, which was fully offline. Then you had BIM 360 glue, which basically separated itself. So BIM 360 glue had its own hub, its own data silo, which was separate from the old BIM 360 team. What they've done now is with BIM 360 docs, they've put the data in one place. So there's no having to export and publish and that sort of thing with respects to getting the data into another hub so that you can basically achieve what you need to. The new version is BIM 360 Coordinate. Hope that one answered your question.
Okay, cool. And then Mario van Beek has asked, what about models from other authoring softwares like AutoCAD or Bentley or even other coordination platform integration?
Fantastic. The big one there, I'm assuming, and sorry, I can't see the question. The big one, I'm assuming there is IFC. Absolutely, yes, we can get IFC in. Over 60 file types, I think, are basically supported. But obviously, if you are doing 3D model service coordination, 2D drawings, not going to help you much. So the file types are supported. You are able to bring in 3D CAD, also absolutely. IFC is the big one there. If there are any others, just please let us know. We'll investigate that and get back to you. But as I said, 60. But the big takeaway I saw there was the IFC. That was a biggie.
Okay, then there's another question from Mike. Mike has asked, after receiving the linked model and see the clashes, can I fix the clash on BIM 360 without opening Revit?
No, Revit's the authoring software. So the fix is going to need to be there. The reason for that is that if you need to basically, if the contractor is not working with a model in terms of construction, which at this point they aren't, the export to the contractor is going to be your sheet of paper, your PDF. So it would need to be done there in order to basically get it out to him, because that's obviously the end result. He needs to basically have the service coordination fixes. So it's not that you'd be able to fix it in BIM 360 Coordinate. You're going to use that to do the coordination and then send the issues back to Revit. We do have a workflow where we can get the issues into Revit, which we're able to help you with. Should you need that, give us a call and we'll be able to help you out with that. We can get those into Revit, which will then allow you to fix it in Revit. But as I said, it's a fairly easy fix to basically just grab that elements ID and go and fix it in Revit. And then you fixed it in the source. So it'll trickle back down again, and eventually it'll peter out as far as the clash goes.
Okay, there's another question from Doug. Do you recommend Navisworks Manage for clash detection reports as well?
Navisworks Manage, as far as clash detection and reports, is the juggernaut. Okay, it allows you a lot more in terms of what you can do with respect to clash detection. For example, as you saw with BIM 360 Coordinate, I'm doing an HVAC model versus a structural model. With Navisworks Manage, I'm able to do an HVAC model's return air versus an HVAC model supply air clash. I'm able to drill down so much further in Navisworks. So is it still a relevant software? Absolutely. From the fact of, from the standpoint of being able to use its quantification, and also a big thing for me is the timeline analysis. Now, a lot of folks do in South Africa, but Navisworks Manage allows you to basically take your Gantt chart, your project chart, assign your model geometry to that, and then actually start doing an animation of where your building should be, as opposed to, for example, where it is. So you can actually start using that to determine whether you're behind 2 or 3 days behind in a concrete pour because of rain or whatever. You're actually able to show the client that using Navisworks Manage. So absolutely still definitely in play.
Okay, there's another question from Chris. He says, can you achieve this with an existing Revit model, or do you need to set up from the beginning?
Any Revit model can basically be cloud shared. So in terms of your workflows, you'll be able to get it up into the cloud, and once it's there, hey presto, clashes are done automatically. And I did just clap my hands again. It's that quick. Once the model's up in BIM 360, I can basically run clashes off. There are certain technical prerequisites that need to happen for it to be a smoother process. And if they aren't done, you need to start maybe looking at fixing them in Revit and then redoing the thing, or moving things in Navisworks, which as a workflow, I'm a bit reticent to recommend, but it is possible.
Okay, there's another question from Ivor. He says he understands that the earliest version of Revit compatible with BIM 360 is 2019.2. Which is the earliest version of AutoCAD that is compatible?
That's a good question. That's a good question, and not one that I've investigated all that well, but I would say that if you're using the later version of AutoCAD, obviously that's going to be sorted out. Again, taking a 3D AutoCAD drawing that was maybe done in AutoCAD 2017, I don't see why there would be an issue if you were able to open it in AutoCAD 2021 to save it as, and then upload that. There shouldn't be an issue with respect to that. The metadata that AutoCAD is going to bring through is not the metadata that Revit's going to basically allow you to have. So as long as you can basically get it into the new version, I don't see there being a problem off the top of my head. But again, it's something we would need to investigate and get back to you with a solid yes answer or no answer. But I don't see an issue.
Okay, there's another one that says, from Jonathan. He says, if the company has network licenses for Revit and not user specific, how do you use BIM 360?
With respects to network licenses, they're not user specific per se, but what they've done with respects to, I think it's Revit 2020, 2021, if you do have network licenses, you basically need to sign in. You obviously need to have an Microsoft, an Autodesk account that would have had the licensing assigned to you for BIM 360 Coordinate, for example. And basically what Revit does is it uses the network license as far as the licensing goes, okay, and then uses your Autodesk account login as far as the BIM 360 software as a service goes. So long story short, whereas standalone Revit requires the Autodesk account to verify the license and use the Autodesk software. The network license, now this is just very layperson sort of English. The network license would basically use the network license for the licensing and then your Autodesk account for the BIM 360 integration.
Okay, there's one more question. Is the clash detection between Revit and AutoCAD as easy as Revit to Revit?
Revit to AutoCAD, well, last time I checked it was, but again, depending on the source file, if it's, I'm assuming it's a 3D drawing, okay? Is a straight geometry to geometry clash. Last time I checked, which I'll be fair, was quite a while ago, a good couple of years ago. It was okay. So I don't see them having made that worse. So as far as it goes right now, again, you want an answer for AutoCAD 2021 versus Revit 2021 crashing. We'd have to get back to you on that. But when I did it last, it was fine. Any other questions?
Okay, cool. That's all the questions that we have time for. Thank you so much to everyone for coming. Dario, would you like to play your last slide for us?
Yeah, I just want to say that from my part as well. Thanks very much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. On behalf of Brooke, myself, and the management at Modena, have an awesome Friday. And just remember that it's about... Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Stay safe. Stay warm.